our exhibition called Fluid, which is an art and tech exhibition. And we're really happy to have Eva here and Sidney to talk about their work. It's a very popular work here on the island, so it's nice that you all could experience it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. First of all, thank you all for coming, and thank you to Harvestworks and to Niska and to Wayfarm for making this possible. This project is a very collaborative one. I've been interested in immersive technologies and how they affect participation and create a kind of dance of agency between people. Garden For Drowning Descendants started years ago with one idea, then developed into several dreams about our descendants and the ecological disaster that we are plunging them into. Sidney San Martin was introduced to me by a dear friend and technologist, Danielle McFatter, who in this scene actually does an aerial dance. But Sidney and I worked through the summer to experiment with interactions and to experiment with possibilities of interactions that include everybody, like people who are in VR, people who are in outside can interact and influence each other's movements. This scene is the surveillance garden. The performers here are Catherine Kirk and Vincent Freiley. They worked on a very loose prompt script that I gave them, and the main characteristic is, even though we're able to interact with it, like to go higher or underwater and to play with it, even though each scene ends up drowning us, and the change between scenes happens through drowning.
I think this, for the stuff I worked on, the scene was a lot of fun and also a lot of work, and it would be fun to do more with. Because it's fun to work on the dynamic parts of it and figure out what are the personalities of different things in the scene. So the jellyfish are a really good example of that, where they have kind of behaviors. So they might become interested in one thing or another in the scene and kind of swim over to it, or the person in the headset and swim over to you. And so playing with how they feel and how they act has been kind of really interesting. So if you're outside VR, you can interact with anything that you can see. So like if I, no matter how far away it is. So if I'm, moving around, I can, swipe away these crocodiles and cameras, even if they're very close or very far away. But whoever is wearing the VR headset can still move their arms around and interact with the scene, but only things that are actually physically in reach of your hands.
I know that this is like very untech comment to do, but it's still magic. I think. I've worked with VR and immersive installation from the 2017-18, and it's always interesting for me to mix impossible interactions and to create kind of playground, but with paradoxes and with possibilities to imagine new actions, and which are not prescriptive and can be very encompassing or tiny, but always creating some kind of dance of agency with others. I also want to acknowledge the Turbo Squid 3D artist from whom I bought or took some of the 3D figures, and the great musicians Bergsonist, Matthew D. Gant, and Daphne Naftali. And of course, Sidney, without whom this would be impossible. Then there are other kind of immersive work which I think should not be forgotten, like Ant Farm, who did massive installations and experiences for people in huge balloons or in the desert or in all kind of situations, even in the middle of lakes.
I believe, so when you make a new world, I just made this, just hit create a second ago. It loads in a scene, and you can change that and make your own, but I think that's the default one. So in fact, I think the plan is we're going to clear that out and just start with a blank canvas. Yeah, when you take a scan, you can kind of pick the distance, but then you can.
You have to adjust the distance if you want just a pumpkin.
Is there an Android version of this?
Can I scan you?
Of course.
Can we do that?
Oh, you have new.
Yeah, I don't take photos of objects, I take photos of people, so I'm gonna scan people.
Yeah.
I think this is probably gonna be pretty good. And then you can, well, okay, not quite.
It's okay.
Yeah, like trim it a little bit.
I
But
kind
then-
of like the glitches of objects in the virtual space. You want to go out?
All right.
I was trying to just get service, but I don't think it's gonna happen right now. So.
The workshop network is back if you wanna.
Oh, okay,
another
let's
my
go
friends
back.
plug right now.
Okay.
And then once you have a perfect, flawless pumpkin, what you should be able to do in any of this is just export it as any file, and then a lot of these you can import into Blender, you can import into almost any 3D software.
Join the room.
Yes.
And then you can upload a file, or you can pick something from the internet. And so anyone who has an iPhone like this, if you want, you can download this program. Or if anyone wants to use my phone, you're welcome to. You can try scanning things in. Or if you want, you can just experiment with the tools here and place models from wherever from anywhere else on the internet. Or they have a whole library as well.